Everyone, it's Jana. Welcome back to Grief Out Loud. My guest today is Tiriq Rashad. Tariq is a poet, a songwriter, and a performer whose life and art are deeply intertwined with grief. Tariq brings with him the memory of his daughter, who died just before birth, of his brother, who lived with cerebral palsy and autism, and his mother, whose sudden death in a car accident continues to reverberate throughout his life. In our conversation, Tariq talks about choosing to fully engage with grief, about how caregiving shaped him from a young age, and how writing and music have become his way of learning to live with that grief. And not just for himself, but for anyone who connects with his work. His new album, Kiss My Art, explores grief with tracks about regret, forgiveness, self-love, and staying connected to those who have died. Tariq is kind, funny, deeply self-aware, and very patient with my questions, some of which took him down some unexpectedly emotional rabbit holes. Okay, here's our conversation. Tariq, welcome to Grief Out Loud. I really appreciate you making time and space to have this conversation with me.
Thank you, Jenna. I appreciate it. Appreciate you for having me on. It means a lot. Thank you.
Your new album, Kiss My Art, weaves grief through pretty much almost every track. And given that I imagine there's many people in your life who have died or that grief stories that you're carrying that are a part of that album, I'm wondering in this moment, like, who would you like to bring into this conversation with us today?
I mean, when I do talks and conversations and things like that, honestly, I bring everyone with me. I'm a representation of my family. So I bring my family with me and obviously the ancestors, but specifically in this conversation, my mom, my brother, my daughter, which I referenced on Kiss My Art as well. So yes.
What would you like to share with me, with our listeners, about your mom and your brother and your daughter?
Good or bad or both?
Both. We always take both
Okay.
here.
All right. So I'll start with my daughter. My daughter, oh, I'm getting emotional already. Wow. So my wife, she had to give birth to my daughter. The baby basically passed away in her belly. We were maybe a month out from delivering. She was feeling sick one day and we had to rush her to the hospital in essence to find out that the baby had passed, and then she had to deliver the baby and everything. So, and it was a girl, and that was our first child. So just that experience alone, it was heartbreaking. And even through the heartbreak, just being able to hold my first child after my wife gave birth to her, obviously it was a hard time, but it was also, I don't want to say beautiful, but in a sense beautiful because that was our first child. So I didn't want to let go of her. Obviously, my wife didn't want to let go of her. So that moment, just being there with my wife during that time and us coming together, or being together rather, to get through that time, it was tough, but I'm glad that we were together to be able to get through it. Being able to support my wife. I know there are so many women, sorry. I know there are so many women who have children and they don't have a partner there with them. I'm just grateful that I was able to be there for my wife. And just my daughter, she has given me so much motivation and everything from that point. And my wife as well, to be able to appreciate our lives and just having more appreciation for our children. My wife giving birth to children because I have three, sorry. Ooh, I have three children now. I'm losing count. But I have three children now and just having so much appreciation for their lives today, and their existence in our lives, regardless of all of the hardships and challenges that comes with babies. I'm just appreciating their existence here in our lives today. So that's just a little bit well, in a nutshell, that's everything regarding my daughter and my brother. my brother is not he is why I'm in social work, which I think you will kind of relate to, Jana. My oldest brother, he has cerebral palsy and autism. So since I was younger, I would say like 8 or 9 years old, I was kind of helping take care of him. My mom and dad would be working and things like that. So I just kind of, I don't want to say forced, but I was in the household. So I was just, I just helped out. Helped dress him because he couldn't really do for himself. So I had to like bathe him, dress him, prepare food for him so he can eat, give him medicine and all of those different things. So I had to learn those things since I was about 8, 9 years old. My stepsister, sorry, why I say stepsister? My god sister. I had help from my god sister and my cousin, who helped me to kind of learn how to do these things or whatnot. And that's kind of what grounded me to be the person that I am and kind of pushed me into social work because I've just been helping all my life. And obviously, as family is different. Helping family is different from helping complete strangers, but that kind of gave me the tools necessary to be the person that I am today. I'm empathetic, I care for others, and I just give a helping hand to those that I don't know just because I have a heart, and that goes a long way. And it sounds simple, but there are some people who just turn the other cheek and be like, oh, well, whatever. But I genuinely have a heart. And I think it's because, not I think, I know for a fact it's because of my relationship with my brother and growing up all the way until his untimely demise and everything. So, my brother, I carry with me wherever I go. With every single thing that I do, I carry my brother, my daughter as well, but my brother. And then lastly, my mother. It's my mom. Like my mom is my everything. I think with boys, their mom is like their everything, right? My mom, she means the world to me. She meant and she still means the world to me. And I carry her wherever I go. I'm a bit traumatized because of how she passed. My mom passed from a car accident, and this kind of speaks to the person that I am as well. When my mom passed, she was helping. She was doing an act of service. There was a car that was flipped on the side of the road, and her and my father got out of the car to help this person that the car that was flipped over. So they pulled her to safety. And when they pulled her to safety, another car came and fatally hit my mom, took her life. That trauma, I live with trauma because of that. And that day, like I got a call from my dad. He was calling me, and it was just madness. And the only thing that I asked was, "Is she okay?" And he said no, and my heart dropped. So I didn't know what to do. And then fast forward her passing, I was just like, "What?" But that was traumatic for me. The silver lining in that speaks to the testament of who I am is that she helps, and she's always helped without even thinking. And sometimes that can be to your own demise, obviously, at our own detriment, but also it's a beautiful, beautiful, selfless gesture. That has been my life journey, just trying to help by being selfless. Damn, I didn't know I was gonna be this it was gonna be this tough to kind of discuss it, but my mom is my world. My mom is my world, and she has grounded me so much, and she has given me so many tools to be the man that I am today. And I carry that with me along the way as well. So my mom is in my heart. I carry her with me. I honor her in all of the things that I do, and I'm going to continue to do that for as long as I live. So, yes.
Well, Tariq, thank you for kind of maybe going down a little unexpected path of so much heart space in that. And it comes through so clearly that your mom provided the scaffolding and the example of how to be a person who cares in the world. And you practice that with your
Yeah.
brother and caring for him. And then that moment of connecting with your daughter, how she continues to come forward with you to help you care for your other children, and maybe hold a different perspective about 3 a.m. wake ups or whatever other things are going on.
Absolutely. You get upset, and then it's like, all right, like they're here with me. So,
Is there like an example or maybe an iconic story of your mom and how she cared for you?
Mm. My mom, my mom had a unique way of raising us. But I will say for me, um, as I mentioned earlier, I think the best thing that my mom did for me was, and I didn't like it when I was growing up, but was to put me in charge. And not necessarily in charge, but like making me learn all of these things when I was younger, learning how to take care of my siblings when I didn't want to, making me learn how to cook and clean and all of those different things like when I didn't want to. Those that was my foundation, and that continues to be my foundation as I go throughout life and raise my family and take care of others. And even in the work that I do, from my music and being an artist and the work in the schools and things like that, like those things have grounded me. She's given me that foundation from the beginning, just putting me in positions that I didn't like. I will say, just put me in specific positions when I was younger that I didn't necessarily care for, but those were necessary for my growth. They were necessary for each and every step of my life. It's given me the strength and the perseverance and all of these beautiful assets that I have to be the person that I am today. And yeah, I miss my mom, but I know those tools are what she gave me to be where I am, and it's going to take me as far as I want to go in life because of her.
Yeah, it seems like she really trusted you with a lot of responsibility. And in a
Hmm.
way, even though you didn't want to do any of those things,
Yeah,
now that's helped you trust yourself with your responsibilities.
absolutely. And I was a kid, kids want to be kids and run around and do this, do that. But we had a big household. It was me, it was my oldest brother, me, then my other brother, and then it was twins. It was all five of us in this little two-bedroom apartment. My dad and my mom, and my dad and mom would be running around doing all of these things, trying to provide for us and stuff like that. I was, I guess, gifted the responsibility, in retrospect. I was gifted the responsibility of helping to care for my siblings and kind of hold the fort down while my parents were away. So it's a gift. I didn't look at it. I'll tell you again. I didn't look at it like that then. I was just like, what the hell? Why I gotta do this? Like, I want to go out there. So, yeah.
Along with this idea of learning, and sometimes we learn because things are directly taught to us when we're growing up, and sometimes we learn because we witness things or we see things or we pick up on things. What did you learn about grief growing up from your family or from your community?
Mm. So I've seen like a lot of friends pass away, some family members pass away and things like that. I've noticed how everyone comes together. When there's a loss, everyone comes together. People you never knew, people you haven't seen in forever, and they all have their stories. So I've learned that a lot of people come together for one common theme or person, and it reminds me of how important that person is. And especially when, I mean, obviously I know how important my mom is, and I realized when she was here, but at the same time, I didn't realize I don't want to say how important because I know how important she is, but in her absence, you realize like her presence connected so many different things and it kept so many things together. And in her absence, just like so many others, like your world kind of falls apart in a sense. You know what I mean? And you're scrambling around trying to put the pieces to your life back together. Just growing up, just to answer your question, I realized how important people are when you see so many people coming together for one common person, um, to honor them, to show love, regardless if they've been there. You know how it is at funerals and things. It's, some people are there genuinely, then there are other people that are just there, whatever. But ultimately, the silver lining and the ultimate goal is like making sure that you're showing your respects to that person. So, yes.
This idea that when someone dies and people come together and there's a lot of community and energy and effort going into honoring and acknowledging that person, sometimes in the immediate aftermath of their death. But then there's like everybody goes home from the funeral, and the people who are perhaps the most close to or most impacted by the death of this person are kind of left alone with their
Mm,
grief.
mm, mm,
And
mm,
what what did that grief look like for you?
mm. That spoke directly to my heart because, and I'm sure so many, everybody who loses someone, you go to this funeral, you grieve together, right? And that on that one day, and then after that, you got to deal with your grief. And for me specifically, like my family was kind of like apart. Everyone hit this person there, that one there, that one there. So we've really had to deal with our stuff, our grief alone. And for me, it was very difficult, extremely difficult for me to accept, what had happened. Questions, obviously, like why did this happen to my mom? Why did she have to go and do this? Why did she go and help? She could have did something else to help. She could have called the police. She could have did this. Like just so many things going through my head, and I was hurt, truly hurt to my core, and I couldn't understand the reasoning. So I just sat and I sat, and usually people turn to vices like drinking and weed and all of these different things. So after a little while, I told myself that I needed to deal with it without leaning on anything. And I needed to face my grief, regardless of whatever vices and whatever kind of things that we normally lean on. I didn't want to do any of that. I just wanted to face it head on and say, listen, Reek, you're going to deal with this. This is the most difficult thing you've ever dealt with in your life, but you have to face it head on so that you can move forward. And that's what I did. And I started doing the work, and I started going to therapy. I started talking to my therapist and talking to her about my grief and my deepest, darkest emotions and feelings about everything and my questions and my family and all of these things. And slowly but surely, I started making progress. And I was like, oh, okay. And I just kept doing the work and just doing the work. And that work is the inner work, the self-love and taking care of myself. Because a lot of people lose themselves and grief is forever. So I have to continue to do the work forever. And it's more important for me to do the work because I have a family. I have a family. I have people that look up to me. I have so many dreams and goals that I want to accomplish. I want to continue to spread these kinds of messages and talk to the world about how to persevere through hardships and challenges. The things that I go through, yes, it directly impacts me, but it's not about Tariq. I have a bigger purpose. It's so much more that I have to do in this world, and I have to be good mentally, spiritually, emotionally, physically, so that I can continue to put messages of self-love and caring for yourself out into the world.
What's an example of one of those practices that you started to put in place to care for yourself?
Writing, creating. My art is my therapy. Writing is my therapy. It really is. It always has been since I was little, and I didn't realize how therapeutic it was for me when I was little. I would just be writing stuff that, like I was saying, I think I was telling Rodney before how I would just write in my journal about like heartbreaks as a kid from girlfriends and stuff like that. But, it's laughable, but at the same time, it was therapy for me. You know what I mean? Just writing my feelings down. But that's my practice, just writing my art out, writing my feelings out, and creating beautiful, heartfelt, inspiring work that obviously heals me. It heals me every time I write about the things that I've gone through and my experiences, but I also know I'm writing somebody else's story. And I know that I'm also helping another person relate and move forward in their lives as well. So my art, writing, creating beautiful stories and experiences.
What did your mom think of your writing when you were growing up? Did you share any of that with her?
Yes, I actually got, so there was a spoken word album that I did called Fade to Black during COVID. And she was actually loving the music. And she was like, I thought it was so beautiful, but I thought it was funny how she would just blast this one song because it was me and my brother on the song, and she used to be blasting it, singing it out loud, cursing, carrying on. So she loved my work, and I have, I've published books and things like that. She was very, very proud of me. My mom was. She had a different way of expressing her love as well. So she might not have always told me how proud of me she was, but she would always tell everyone else. So like she would tell her best friends, and once she got older and stuff, she would be on Facebook. I hated it. I used to be like, get off Facebook, like but posting stuff on Facebook and things like that, and how proud of me she was. So she was very proud of me. She loved my work. She was super, super happy for me. Yeah.
Your first track, No Regrets, opens with a voicemail from your mom. And earlier you just said, like, I know I'm not just writing my own story, I'm writing my story and I'm writing other people's stories. And at least what came through to me was just the unique way that your mom loved and cared for you. Just in that short little voicemail message. What's it like for you? I mean, I imagine as an artist, you're like having to hear these songs over and over again as you're mixing and getting them ready for publication. And now they're out and going to be out in the world. What's it like for you to hear her voice and her voicemail over and over?
Um, sometimes I tune it out. You're listening to something, but you tune it out sometimes. Throughout the recording process and being in the studio and, you know, putting it together, and then the final piece, listening to the final piece, I got choked up. I cried, it's beautiful, and it's a constant reminder that my mom is there with me and she's always checking on me and she's always going to be with me in spirit, even though she's not here physically. So I just tune it out sometimes, to be honest. I guess it just depends on the mood, but I know once I start performing this, I'm gonna have to get myself together. You know what I mean? I have to get myself together so that I can be effective with performing it to people and crowds and things like that. But I tune it out sometimes, and sometimes I listen, and sometimes when I'm listening to her, I just reflect on the good times that I had with my mom, to be honest. I reflect on the good times. I try not to, and that's another practice. Your previous question, that's another practice of mine, just making sure that when I reflect upon my mom, I'm reflecting upon good memories and not just her demise. Because if I think of a demise, like that's not going to make me feel good, you know? I just try to make sure that I think of all of the beautiful times that I had with my mom. All of those beautiful, funny, crazy times with my mom. I just reflect on those good times and stuff like that as well. So, yeah.
Well, I know we were just talking about memories and reflecting, but another theme that comes through really strong in your lyrics is around forgiveness and forgetting and the roles that they play in grief. And I just wondered if you could talk about that a little bit.
Mm. So I was just playing with words, right? Just play with words a little bit. And to be honest, like with grief, I don't think we ever forget, right? I don't think we ever forget. Like I said, grief is forever. But those regrets that I talk about, in order for us to move forward, we have to forgive ourselves and maybe even some other people, but just for our own progress and our own evolution, we got to forgive ourselves to be able to take those steps forward. You got to forgive yourself. You're always going to remember the loss, the person that you lost. In my case, I'm gonna always remember my mom, but just not having regrets about these things. And um, I, I questioned myself a lot when I reflected upon bad things during that time when my mom passed. I was reflecting on those things like, damn, I should have been there. If I was here, I could have done this. Or if I was there, I could have helped her do this and all of these other things. And therapy helped me to say, Tariq Wusa, calm down. It's not your fault. So forgiving myself so that my healing process is much lighter because sometimes we make our grieving process difficult based upon our thought process. Again, it starts with not having any regrets, and you don't have any regrets when you start forgiving. And you have to forgive yourself first to be able to have no regrets and make those steps forward to honoring your parents and honoring yourself ultimately. Because when a person passes away, you're still here and you have to still live your life. So you want to live your life in grief forever, sad and hurt and all of these things, or honor them by living a prosperous life and doing the inner work to make sure that you're evolving.
I was just thinking as you were talking, Tariq, about a lot of times in the grief world, people like to talk about like little kids grieve this way and older kids grieve this way and adults grieve
Mm,
this way. And the longer I'm in the field, I'm more like, we all do, we all kind of do it the same. Like
I agree, the
29,
same.
yeah, I'm still a 3-year-old.
It
As a
doesn't matter.
51-year-old, I'm probably grieving similar to someone who's older. I mean, I know
Yeah,
there's differences because of our cognitive capacities. But when you were talking about that piece of hassling yourself in a way of like, if I could have been there, I could have made a difference. I could have done, and like, and little kids will do that too, right? Like if only I'd worn the red sweater instead of the blue sweater, then maybe things would have been different. Or if I hadn't asked my dad to go get me potato chips at the store, he wouldn't have died. And just how universal that is, right? Of us, this horrible thing happened, and we want to figure out what role we played, as fantastical as it might be, so that maybe there's like, oh, this bad thing won't happen again. And so I just wanted to pause and appreciate you really articulating your internal process of grappling with those thoughts that can cause injury to us.
absolutely. Absolutely. And I appreciate that. And I've had dark thoughts, to be honest. I had dark thoughts. I was in a very dark place, but I had to do the work. And once you do the work, again, it'll make your process much lighter. I'm not saying it's easy, but it makes it much lighter. And we have to find a way not to lean on vices. Those vices is, like I said, marijuana, liquor, and things like that. Like, those things are temporary. Grief is forever. You know what I mean? So doing that inner work is so very important. And I'm glad I did. And I had the encouragement from my wife and things like that. So I commend her, but it wasn't easy. And it's not going to be easy continuing to move forward, to be honest, because the more I accomplish and achieve all of these beautiful things, and like I said, I have kids. I want my mom to be here to not even just help me, but to be here with her grandchildren and my children to know my mother and the type of person she is and this person who raised me. So it's not going to be easier as time goes on because they say, time heals and things like that. But yeah, I beg to differ. But again, it's just how you take care of yourself along the way.
Yeah, it's such a good reminder or helpful reminder that when someone in our life dies, we miss them when things are hard, and we
Mm,
miss them when things are good and easy too. These moments of success and
absolutely.
celebration really highlight like who's not here to be part of this celebration with us.
Absolutely. 1,000%, 1,000%. And that's kind of where I'm at with it. It's just as I accomplish, and aside from just accomplishing all of these outward things and stuff, just my family. I miss my mom. I want my mom to be here with us, to And not just me, because my brother has kids. Both of my brothers have children, so she'll have all of these grandchildren. She loved kids, so just
Mm.
being here, just to bask in grandmotherhood. You know what I mean? Just so those things that I think of. So just her, like her absence, I get sad in moments like that, especially when I'm with my kids and I see certain things, or honestly, just in addition to that, just her help. It takes a village, you know what I
Mhm.
mean? And my family is all over, and my wife's family is all over, and stuff like that. So it's a lot, but we band together and figure it out. But her absence is definitely felt.
Mm. Yeah, to not have her there tasking your kids with responsibilities that perhaps they don't want to do.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
One of the folks who spoke about the impact of your writing and your work was the late poet Nikki Giovanni, who you had a chance to connect with. And I'm just thinking about her recent death. In your life, how have the deaths of other well known artists, writers, musicians, perhaps people you didn't have a personal relationship with, but like how did the deaths of those more public figures affect you?
Um, I mean, well, rest in peace to Miss Nikki Giovanni, first and foremost. It was such a special time for me to be able to connect with her. I was releasing my poetry book, was reaching out to different people, and she gave me that stamp of approval, and I was like, wow, I was taken aback by it. So, again, rest in peace to her. But losing people like that, obviously it's a deep blow. It's a deep blow. But as I mentioned plenty of times throughout this conversation, is just honoring them the best way that we can through our artistry. And through my poetry, I just try to be honest and heartfelt as Nikki Giovanni was, you know what I mean? And just trying to tell the story and the experiences of everyone universally, but specifically to, the hardships of Black men, and the things that I've dealt with growing up and stuff. And I just try to be honest and raw and share those experiences that other people are going to connect to. Again, just as Nikki Giovanni and so many other late artists have done. And their impacts mean so much, and their loss obviously means so much. It's a deep blow, but just honoring them in the things that we do and acknowledging all of that beautiful work that they've done as we continue to create.
Yeah, oftentimes when a more public figure dies, there have been times when folks have reached out to us at Dougie Center to like, can you help explain why somebody who never got to meet Prince is suddenly so devastated hearing about
Mm.
his death? And I mean, I try to come up with some answer around that, but I'm curious if you have thoughts on, like, if you were talking to a group of teenagers who were totally devastated or impacted by the death of a musician or an artist that they never knew personally, but who meant a lot to them, like, what would you share with them?
So it's interesting. So as you're saying that, it made me think of when I was at my previous job at a high school. I remember who was the rapper? I forgot the rapper's name. He passed away while we were in school, and the kids were devastated. And I'm like, what happened? What happened? And they were saying that the rapper died and everything. And I was just like, huh? But they were like crying and things like that. And at first I was just kind of like, what? What's going on? Why they? But then as time went on, I'm like, all right. It started making me reflect on when I was growing up and I was losing artists that I grew up with, like Tupac. Like that's my, as I told Rodney, my GOAT. But I remember growing up and he passed and I was so hurt by it and things like that. You just pull the kids in and you talk to them and just make sure, they're okay, check in with them, see how impactful they were in their lives. I don't know if you're familiar with NBA YoungBoy, but this new generation, she like, no, this new generation, they like love him. Like it's like mind blowing. And I believe he's an independent artist and stuff like that. But just seeing how the kids gravitate to him and his artistry and the things that he create is such a beautiful thing to see how people connect with music and art and stuff. So you realize how important these artists are and how they connect to them. So just making sure that you talk to the kids, and like you said, and that with the example that you gave me, just making sure you check in with them, making sure they're okay, and seeing how meaningful they were, and just remind them to continue to honor them and the things that they do by if in school, for instance, make sure you're doing what you need to do in school, things like that. Yes, it's okay to grieve, but you also got to make sure you're handling your responsibilities and things, as I need to do as well, as I mentioned throughout the interview. Like, you lose someone, but you still have responsibility. Life goes on. As unfortunate as that is to say, but life goes on. We still have to take care of ourselves and move forward. So, yeah, that's the advice I would give.
Yeah, I think in there, there's just this important piece of having permission to be impacted by the death of someone that you never met, but had a huge influence or a role in maybe a particular time and place in your life and has helped form maybe what you value, what you dream about. And that's still grief. It's still valid. I think that goes so long, such a long way.
Absolutely, absolutely. There's so many artists and people in our lives who are not in our lives, but in a sense they are in our lives, like this music and even movies and things like that. Like we're captivated by these things and it touches our hearts in certain ways and they live with us forever. We have these headphones on when we're listening to music and stuff. That's embedded in our minds, our bodies, our souls, our spirits. So we relate to them and we carry them with us along the way. So when we lose them, it's like losing a friend or family member or something. So, yeah.
One last thing I wanted to ask about, and you alluded to this earlier, of there's the process of the creating of your art, the writing, the mixing, all the things that go into that piece. And then there's it being released into the world where everyone gets to enjoy it and be part of it. And then there's going out and performing it and having an interactive process with audiences around basically your heart on stage.
hmm
How are you feeling about all of that? How are you preparing for that?
I'm excited. I'm truly excited. I can't wait to connect with actually the same guy who produced my album. He's a musician as well. Like he plays instruments and things like that, and he has his own band. So I just can't wait to just get on the stage and just perform these things and just have so many people connect to the things that I have to say within my album. I'm really excited to just perform them because I know people are gonna love it. I know people are gonna connect to it. I'm just excited, truly. There's really no other no other adjective. I'm truly excited to be able to get on the stage and perform it for the world.
Well, I'm going to end us with one potentially impossible question to answer. So you can always pass if you don't have an answer for it. But I keep going back to that voicemail message from your mom and hearing her words. What do you imagine your mom would say to you just before you're about to take the stage for a performance?
Mm. Why you ask me that? No, I'm kidding. Oh gosh. Mm. So I just put, can I, I'm just gonna pull my phone up real quick. I want to read you something. Just 1 second. And she wrote a message to me on Facebook. It was a few years ago. And she shared a message saying that this is when I released my poetry book, Shine Through Our Shade. This was October 30th, 2019. She said, "My son, he did it again. The second book. I'm so proud of you. You make me shine. Keep up the good work because I know you are almost there. Keep going down the path that you are going down because it will lead to all your dreams and goals. I will always be there. I love you always and forever, Mother." That's what she'll say to me before I got on the stage. Yep. And I hold on to that. I truly hold on to that. So that's the answer. She gave me the answer. I didn't even know. Honestly, I didn't even know. So yes, absolutely. Yes.
Well, thank you, Tariq, for sharing that
hmm
tender moment and for all that you've shared with us today. For listeners who want to maybe see you on stage or just tune into your music or your poetry books, what's the best way for them to connect with you?
Well, my website is tariqrashad.com, and you can follow me on Instagram at Tariq, Tiriq_Rashad, Rashad. And you'll be able to find all my music and everything on my website. And I put updates on my social media all of the time. My album Kiss My Art is coming in October. I am Grammy considered right now. I am trying to get that turned into a Grammy nomination. This is a beautiful body of work, so I'm praying and hoping that it gets the recognition, not that it deserves, that it needs. So thank you so much, Jenna, for having me. I really appreciate this conversation. I had to hold my tears back, so I thank you so very much. I love having these kinds of conversations. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Well, Tariq, so grateful for your time, for your album, Kiss My Art, for sharing so openly with me and with our listeners, and just recognizing that your album, Kiss My Art, comes out in October, and your mom's message that you just read to us was also dated in October. So it just seems like that's the month.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, thank you again for your time today, Tariq.
Thank you, Jen. I appreciate it.
And listeners out there, you know, I say this each and every single time, but thank you for being part of our show, for making all the hours of editing worth making this conversation happen for you. If you'd like to reach me, you can email me at griefoutloud@dougie.org. That dougy.org is also our main website where you can find information about our local programming, all of our free downloadable resources, and of course, each and every episode of Grief Out Loud. I'm always excited to share that the podcast is sponsored in part by the Chester Stephan Endowment Fund. Grief Out Loud is a production of Dougie Center, the National Grief Center for Children and Families. Thanks again for listening. I hope you'll join us again next time.